My top 5 tips for improving your thyroid health. Hi, I'm Megan. I'm a nutritional therapy practitioner and functional blood chemistry specialist. And thyroid issues were something that I personally dealt with for a really long time and really struggled to get all of them under control here. So I want to give you my top 5 tips on how to actually address your thyroid so that your thyroid can be in great health, which impacts our overall health so much. So the first and foremost thing to do is get a full thyroid panel. The thyroid is affected by so many things, and I'm going to talk about a few of these things here. But the best way to know what is going on with the thyroid is to actually look at all different pieces of the thyroid. And yes, this includes thyroid numbers, which I'm going to talk about in just a second, but this also includes looking at a whole bunch of other things. So for the thyroid panel itself, I recommend getting at the very, very least TSH, which is almost always run, free T4, which is often run, free T3, which is almost never run, reverse T3, which is almost never run, and your TPO and TG or thyroglobulin antibodies. The thyroid can be a thyroid issue. It is often not. It could also be an autoimmune issue, in which case it's not a thyroid issue, it's an autoimmune issue. So that is just a small piece, although a very important piece. We also need to look at other things like a metabolic panel, a CBC with differential, a lipid panel. We want to look at blood sugar regulation, so C-peptide, insulin, HbA1c. So you want to look at some of these other things. Nutrient deficiencies are also a really, really big one. So getting a full thyroid panel along with just a comprehensive blood panel is going to be the first step. Second step with that is once you get the results back is actually having someone who interprets blood work from a more functional and optimal perspective is going to be number 2, because there's a really big difference between normal thyroid numbers, according to Western medicine, and their crazy, crazy big ranges, and optimal thyroid function. And so you want someone who's really going to look at the optimal levels, but then also not just look at your thyroid, because once again, the thyroid is not just about the thyroid. So many things impact the thyroid here. So number 1, get someone to run your blood work, get a good panel run, and have someone good who can interpret it. If you need help and support with that, book a free call with me. This is something that I do on a daily basis. So number 2 is managing stress. So managing stress is super, super important. If we look at the thyroid and how the thyroid's really functioning, the thyroid is part of an axis called the hypothalamus pituitary thyroid axis. And if you're like, man, that sounds familiar, well, it also shares an axis with the hypothalamus pituitary and adrenals, the HPA axis. If you have an HPA axis dysfunction, you might have cortisol issues, cortisol dysregulation, high and or low. You also may have adrenal fatigue, which is cortisol dysregulation issues. And so if we've got a lot of chronic stress and cortisol issues, adrenal dysfunction, this can directly impact the thyroid. So managing stress, getting your body back into a safe kind of place, out of fight or flight, into a more parasympathetic, relaxed state, super crucial. You can certainly use things like meditation, breath work, gentle movement, walking, certainly energy healing, journaling. There's all kinds of methods, but just find a way to really manage your stress every single day. Next one is going to be add in a good multivitamin. So the thyroid is impacted by a lot of nutrients. And if we've got nutrient deficiencies, one of the first things that can be impacted is the thyroid. So a good multivitamin is going to be really crucial and fundamental just to cover all of your nutritional bases, to make sure you're getting the basic of what you need. One note on the multivitamin. Not all multivitamins are created equal. Most of the ones that you're going to get at a store are going to be not good. One of the telltale signs of not a good multivitamin is if you look under folate or B9, and in parentheses, it should say on the bottom, where that source is coming from. If it says folic acid, you know it is not a good multivitamin. The body does not absorb folic acid, meaning you're not going to be absorbing that folate and B9. B9 is super important for so many things, and so many of us are deficient, including if you eat a really whole foods based diet. It's really easy to develop a B9 deficiency. So make sure you are not getting your folate from folic acid. Just, it's not a good idea. Next one is going to be support the liver. So the liver plays a really big role in the thyroid health for a few reasons. The biggest one being that the thyroid produces T4, which is a thyroid hormone. Now, the body can't actually use that T4. It has to convert it to something else called T3. And a large part of that process and that conversion from T4 to T3, so getting the thyroid hormone that we can actually use and that our thyroid can actually send throughout our body and do what it needs to do, a lot of that's done in the liver. Like 60% of it is done in the liver. And a lot of people have liver dysfunction. I'm not saying your liver's not working, just not working quite optimally. Just because the liver does so much, it regulates blood, helps regulate blood sugar. It does a lot with fat digestion, bioproduction. It does a lot with getting things out of our body that shouldn't be there, toxins, excess cortisol, excess hormones, all kinds of stuff that shouldn't be in there. So supporting the liver, castor oil packs is one of the easiest and simplest ways. You can put it over your liver. You can also put it over your thyroid. And both are honestly probably really good ideas if you've got some liver dysfunction. And then the last one is going to be work on trauma. And there's really two reasons for this. First, if we have a strong trauma history and trauma past, your body is often going to be stuck in a state of fight or flight, that sympathetic, non-rested, super stressed, chronically stressed state. In which case, it's going to be really hard to heal just about anything because our body's not feeling safe. Once again, we're probably going to have some cortisol dysfunction going on in there. Our adrenals are probably not going to be in the best spot. So working on that trauma is really valuable. The other thing I see, and this was certainly the case with me, but also I see this all the time in my practice with, we have tons of clients who have thyroid dysfunction, is if we look at the energetic body and we look at the chakras, the throat chakra is right here where our thyroid is. It is so rare that I see someone in our practice, once again, speaking for myself as well, that doesn't have some sort of thyroid chakra dysfunction, imbalance going on, but also doesn't have a thyroid dysfunction. So we've got thyroid dysfunction. We probably have some throat chakra dysfunction as well. If you're someone like me, for me, I personally was raised by a single mom who was an alcoholic from a very young age, and I was often shot down. I wasn't allowed to speak up. I was told I was wrong, had too many emotions. And so anytime I spoke up, it ended up into a fight. And so I shut my voice down from a really young age, and I developed really strong people pleasing patterns, not having good boundaries, saying yes to just about everything, even if I was already exhausted, having this feeling of just being so fearful of any sort of conflict or any situation that may at some point arise in conflict or an argument of some sort. Really hard time feeling my feelings, let alone expressing my feelings. So if any of those sound like you, there's a good chance that there's some throat chakra work that needs to be done. There's tons of great YouTube stuff out there on how to support your throat chakra. Speaking up for yourself, singing, chanting, even humming are all really great ways to start working on your throat chakra. So if you liked this video, be sure to like it, follow for more, subscribe, and if you need help in digging deeper into your thyroid issues, be sure to book a free call with me. There's a link down below.